Pets, divorce, and responsibility. These are some various themes explored in our first story today. Now, I want to know if you agree with OP's actions in this one, because I'd say it's very morally questionable as to what information they kept from their ex about this story. Anyway, g'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and get ready for some good stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole for buying my kids pets without the approval of my ex? So I'm divorced 6 years and remarried for 2 years. I have 2 sons with my ex, 11 male and 13 male. My wife has 1 son, 9 male. My kid's mum lives less than a mile away. It's close enough for the kids to walk over, but far enough to be separate space. My boys move back and forth between their mums and my house, usually once a week. We're flexible, especially during the summer because of travel, kids' activities, etc. My wife's son lives with us full time. My wife and I have been talking with the kids about getting a pet that they would personally be responsible for at our house. This has been going on since December, and we told the kids we would pull the trigger on the pets when all of our summer travel was done. Since then, the kids have been excited about the prospect of having their own pets. We asked them to research their chosen pet, determine what its needs were, and what kind of common health problems that kind of pet could have, and how to avoid them. The kids all presented their reports and did an awesome job starting out as responsible pet owners. My kids started thinking about how they would take care of their pets when they were with their mum. We presented their options as we saw them. Come over from time to time, ask for help from someone that's here all the time, bring the pets back and forth. They decided they would like it best if they could bring the pets back and forth between the houses. We said that it would be okay with us, but they had to talk to their mum about it. I let them know that it was their responsibility to initiate that conversation. 2 weeks ago, I reach out to my ex to see what her answer is regarding to the pets moving back and forth. She lets me know that their kids approached the conversation saying, "Dad says we can bring the pets back and forth." So I apologize and let her know that wasn't my intent, and I clarify that we're fine with any of the 3 options for caring for these pets. She replies, "In concept, I don't disagree with it." And also late in the conversation, she says, "It's totally unfair to expect her to secondarily be responsible for these pets." I'm confused, but leave the conversation, feeling certain that she doesn't want to participate. So I decide that I will take care of the pets while the boys are away. Yesterday, we bought the youngest 2 their pets. They are ecstatic, and it's adorable how they're caring for them. I get an angry message from my ex stating that the purchase of their pets is an imposition on them regardless of whether they go to their house or not, and a bit of patronization by saying, "I understand that you and your wife are excited about having an autonomous family unit of your own, but you continuously make decisions together in a vacuum that impact the wider scope of immediate family, and it's really not okay. Am I the asshole for pulling the trigger on these pets without her approval?" OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. "I may be the asshole because I didn't have a conversation with my ex directly. I relied on the kids to do that. This caused confusion about my attitude to her autonomy and may have set the whole thing up to fail." Now in the comments, LuckStrict6000 says, "You're the asshole. Take care of the pets yourself while your kids are at their mums. Telling the kids they can't take a pet to her house before even discussing it with her directly is ridiculous, and telling the kids they need to come over there to your house during her time with them is also ridiculous. You set her up to be the bad guy. You handled this so wrong." Yup, he set her up for a crapload of whining about, "But we want to go see the dog. Dad said we could come see the dog even when we're here." Look, I half suspect he did it deliberately to make his ex look bad in his kids' eyes. No one is this oblivious. Yeah, I think so too. X also mentions how making unilateral decisions that impact their co-parenting dynamic is a trend. And from OP's account and willful ignorance, I don't think that's an exaggeration. Multi-Phased says, "You're the asshole." Specifically this, quote, "We presented their options as we saw them, come over from time to time, ask for help from someone that's here all the time, and bring the pets back and forth." Let's look at those. 1. Come over from time to time. Is this supported by your custody agreement? If not, this can easily read as you trying to make an end run around your court-ordered custody agreement under the guise of teaching the kids responsibility with a pet. 2. Ask for help from someone that's here all the time. They're 11 and 13. If you choose to get them a pet that needs to stay at your house, it is not their responsibility to find someone to take care of it. It is your responsibility to take care of it. And 3. Bring the pets back and forth. You made this suggestion before talking to your ex about it to verify that it would be okay. At first glance, this reads as you purposefully putting your ex in a bind. Either she says yes, thus validating your attempt to make decisions on her behalf, or she says no, turning her into the bad guy. What you are doing here is manipulative as hell. If you want to get them a pet, fine. But the correct approach is to not make or even suggest any changes to visitation and proactively say that you'll take care of the pets when your kids aren't with you and the pet will stay with you and not go to your ex's house. Basically, get yourself a pet that your kids have some responsibility over instead of getting them a pet. Our next post is by user Am I the Arsehole Throwaway a Million? Titled, "Am I the asshole for imposing a good vibes only rule for our upcoming vacation?" So this is the first time in my adult life that I'm able to afford a trip to Disney World. So me, a friend of mine, both 26 female and my sister, 29 female, are all going to go in September. We're planning an 8-day long trip and sharing a hotel room for the whole thing. My sister is a habitual glass half empty kind of person, but nothing too crazy until recently. Lately, she's been very down due to lots of things, but the main thing being that her boyfriend of 5 years has been giving her the runaround when it comes to getting engaged, and she's stressed out by the lack of commitment. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be unsupportive. I've been nothing but supportive to her about this for the past year straight. But she brings it or some other downer topic up literally every time we talk, and I'm feeling incredibly burnt out. I didn't have the best year myself, and I really need this vacation to be enjoyable. I invited my sister over today, which ended up involving a very long and intense conversation about her personal issues. Before she left, I told her there are less than 2 months left until the trip, and I really am going to need her to be able to put that stuff on the back burner and enjoy herself while we're on the vacation. She said that she was looking forward to the trip, but couldn't promise that she could fake a smile the whole time. I told her that I really needed a break, and that if she couldn't hold herself back from needing a shoulder to cry on for 1 whole week, that I would prefer if she didn't go. She started crying and said that that was the most insensitive thing that anyone had ever told her. I really didn't have any more emotional gas left in the tank after another long conversation, so I just told her that I was sorry, but I needed her to go for now, and we could text about it later, but I haven't heard from her yet. And edit, so to give it a bit of a timeline, I got my new job in August 2019, and started planning the Disney trip for September 2020. You know what happened that year, so it got pushed back to September 2021. My sister started having issues with her relationship last summer, and it's only really ramped up to the point that she's using me as her therapist since a couple months ago. None of this was an issue back when I first invited her. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I have no idea if asking my sister to put her personal stuff aside during vacation is realistic or fair. Now in the comments, Grandass Holio says, "You're the asshole. Go have fun. If she starts a downer, change the topic and do something fun. Acknowledge her fears and concerns, but move on. Telling someone who is borderline, if not actually suffering depression, happy times only, is a you're the asshole move. You knew all of this when you booked the 3-way trip." Edit to add, by the way, no shame in a caregiver needing a respite. And OP replies, "It's not depression. She's upset because her boyfriend doesn't want to propose, but she has done nothing to help herself or change her situation. Twice now, she has given him a deadline to propose or else she walks away. And twice now, he has not proposed and she hasn't followed through. She won't accept being with him without marriage, and she won't break up and find someone who wants the same thing as she does. So she's just increasingly frustrated and unhappy, but won't do anything about it. I'm really just tired of having the same conversation over and over and over again because she leans on me, but she won't take any advice, go to an actual therapist, or give me a break from her emotional dumping. I don't need to be her fake peppy, but I need her to not try to talk about her boyfriend issues with me for 1 week, and it really sounds like that just won't happen. Honestly, it sounds like the kind of trap depression can be. A mild apathy and persistent half-empty outlook. I've had friends with dysthymia and depression, very similar to what you describe. Sure is like major depression and we think people can't get out of bed. Mild depression, that stuff is just evil. Feeling hopeless, feeling guilty, or worthless. Feeling overwhelmingly sad or feeling unmotivated. Yep, all parts of mild depression. Just in my honest opinion, inability to take action and correct the failed relationship? Yep, pretty common depression trap there too. And OP replies, well, she refuses to see a therapist, so when do I get a break? Whenever you want. You're in control of when you see her and when you invite her. Again, no shame in a caregiver seeking respite. It's a tough situation. Like an addict, they need to want to help themselves. You can just keep offering and trying different ways to get them to see that it's time to seek help in getting beyond being stuck where they are. Okay, and using that analogy, why is everyone getting mad at OP for setting boundaries? If someone you love is struggling with alcohol or is a violent drunk, is it wrong to ask if they're able to not drink that week? You've given them the rehab options and moral support, etc., and they refused. But you still want to share this trip with them. You think that maybe this trip could be good for their sobriety. So is it wrong to say, hey, I want you to come, but I need this to be a dry vacation? Would you be able to do that? Sour Notes Rock Hard Ab says, not the asshole. This may be unpopular, but as someone who has suffered from depression in the past, I have no patience for emotional vampires. It's not a friend or family member's job to bring someone out of a funk. I've known people like your sister and been people like your sister. I can confirm that there's a limit, and it sounds like the sister hit it about 10 downer conversations ago. I would definitely agree, not the asshole. As someone who has both been depressed and dealt with a family member who was depressed and only relied on family for support, OP is completely within their rights to set a boundary about what their expectations are for this trip. Having a sense of emotional control is a part of being a functioning adult, even though you're going through something. Our next post is by user Rewer321, titled, Am I the asshole for getting mad at my friend for making me sleep in his reptile room? I made plans to visit a college friend who happens to be a reptile enthusiast from out of town who I hadn't seen in a long time. I didn't have money for hotels, so he offered to let me stay with him in the guest bedroom, which he had converted into a reptile room. It had a bed, but the walls were lined with enclosures for snakes. He told me the snakes were very quiet, and I said okay, I should be okay sleeping in there. I get there, we catch up, and he shows me into the guest bedroom. As he said, the snakes were quiet and didn't make any noise, and it was sort of cool. And he asked if I wanted to meet any of them, so I said sure, why not? Which went fine until we got to a particular snake. He handled it just fine, but it got feisty after he handed it to me. I gripped it tighter, and that's when it sprayed some sort of oily, nasty gunk from its cloaca all over my arm and the floor. At first I thought the snake pooped, then I smelled it and realized it was much worse than poop. It smelled like putrid rotten carcasses, diarrhea, fish, and copper combined, but worse. I dropped it and bent over retching. He only then explained to me that some snakes musk in self-defense and apologized, saying, sorry, she hasn't done that in a long time. He cleaned it up and opened a window, but I felt very nauseous and a bit lightheaded. I washed my arms a dozen times before feeling a bit better. We were out and about for the rest of the day and had a good time until we got back for the night. When I went into the room to sleep, I noticed the smell of snake musk had permeated the whole room. I asked if he was sure he cleaned it up, and he said, yeah, that smell's not meant to go away. It'll take a day or two, but you'll get used to it though. Now I was freaking out. There was nowhere else to sleep and I had a bad back, so I didn't want to sleep in the car, but the stench was intolerable, even after airing out for the day after he cleaned it earlier. I begged him to put the dogs in there and let me sleep in the living room, but he said no. That's not what we agreed to, and he wouldn't feel safe with that. I asked to sleep on the floor of the master bedroom, but he said he couldn't do that to his wife. I got upset and said that he never warned me this could happen, but he said that he wasn't going to pay for a hotel room just so I don't have to smell snake musk, and said, you can manage it. It's not as bad as you're making it out. It was a rough night and I didn't sleep much. The smell never dissipated and I got a headache. I was upset that he put me through that, but he was upset that I was angry at him for doing me a favor of letting me stay there at all. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. Since he's doing me a favor by letting me sleep there, I could see how it's being an asshole to be mad at him for the conditions I had agreed to, even if I wasn't fully informed about what living with reptiles could be like. Personally, no. Oh my god, that is torture to have to sleep in that. He did leave you in a rock and a hard place with this one, and I feel like he should have stepped up and provided a better option for you, since it was his fault that the snake did this. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt in this situation and say that you had no idea that snakes could do that or would do that, especially squeezing it like you had. He knew this could happen, he just forgot, and he didn't do anything to fix the situation afterwards. Much less he forced you to sleep in this room. That is a dick move by him. I don't think I can argue the semantics of the situation where he should have paid for a room for you to stay somewhere else for the night. I'm sure you could have asked someone else, like family or friends, to help you out with another place, or help out with money for another place. Or he could have just let you sleep in the living room with the dogs. That could have been another option. Anything but sleeping in that room, yet he forced you to sleep in there. I don't think you ever did anything wrong in this situation. The blame to me lies solely on this guy, so from that, I'm going with not the asshole. Now in the comments, Saint Alvis says, not the asshole. Jesus frickin' Christ, quote, you'll get used to it though. I'd be more worried if I did get used to it. Edit to Ed, oh my god, the more I read, the worse it gets. The first part of the secretion is good old-fashioned feces. Then there is uric acid, and then there's snake musk. The musk is secreted from the cloacal scent gland, which explains why it comes with a bonus dose of urine and feces. While skunks can be disarmed with hydrogen peroxide and baking soda, snake musk hangs on through multiple washings with whatever substance anyone cares to use. What's more, some chemicals in it are reactivated with water. A seemingly clean item of clothing, or patch of skin, will give off odors again whenever it gets wet. Ryan replies to that, right? Ugh, I hate snake musk. If it gets on your skin, it'll get into your pores, and it'll start to make your sweat smell like snake musk. If it's been less than a month, I guarantee if he sniffs his arm closely, he'll be able to smell it even still, no matter how much he's washed. His friend should have had the foresight to not let OP handle the snakes in the only room there was to sleep in, just in case one of them musked. He should have just let OP pet them from his hand, or let him handle the chillest one. Hopefully this was a learning experience. Lol. As someone with family who once had a snake room, I bet most of the snakes aren't allowed outside of there for safety, from the dogs, or because musking has happened before, and no one wants that out in the main area of the house. Oh my god, this comment made me laugh. As a zookeeper, I always underestimate how badly snake musk affects the general public. I sort of feel like it's overhyped. It really doesn't smell all that much worse from dog anal gland fluid. It's nothing like dealing with a species that actually produces real musk, like cleaning otter dens after breeding season. Now that I can't stomach. You want to talk about musk? Man, you can taste it, it's so strong. I just want to point out that it really doesn't smell all that much worse from dog anal gland fluid. Oh god. And further down, Vrian has their own comment and says, while I usually lean on the side of being grateful for what you get, I might have to go not the asshole, because I don't think anyone can be expected to sleep in a room that a snake musked in. That's like expecting someone to sleep in a room full of roadkill. I don't see how anyone can do it. I don't get how some reptile people act like it's not a big deal. Even a 1% chance of getting musked has been enough to stop me from interacting with some species. It's just unbearable. Ugh. And Grendalone says, everyone sucks here, a little. On the one hand, you put yourself into this situation, even if you didn't know about the musking possibility. You should have known that traveling to visit a friend without enough money for a hotel and agreeing to stay in his reptile room was going to have some risks. What if the snake had musked the previous day, or if the room simply smelled bad because it had a frick ton of reptiles in it? On the other, your friend is a pretty crappy host, and has clearly packed his house with too many incompatible animals. As another commenter asked, why couldn't you sleep in the living room with the dogs? It seems like there were multiple solutions and arrangements that would have worked that didn't require you to sleep in the reptile room. And our next post is by user Calamondin88, titled, Am I the asshole for telling a woman her child died to escape a mother like her? That is a grim title. I, 26 female, got into a discussion with a distant acquaintance through my husband. Discussion was totally unrelated to health or family or anything, and somewhere down the line, I casually made a remark that I only have mum. I don't have a dad. Then, sometime later, our opinions went their separate ways, and in the heat of an argument, she told me that it was no surprise my dad walked out on me as he didn't want such a daughter. The point is, my dad died after we lost a long and tiring battle with cancer. I just didn't mention it. I didn't mention any reason as of why I don't have a dad, but I know that her only son died of cancer, and she is still in therapy for that a couple of years later. Mutual friend/acquaintance circle gossips, etc. I responded with, well, it's safe to assume that your son died to escape a mother like you, as he walked out on you the way my dad walked on me. Now she's painting me as a horrible person to everybody who is willing to listen, and of course, she's giving her version of events. That sounds like I just decided to be mean out of nowhere, and what a horrible person I am. After hearing my side, our friends/acquaintances still say that I shouldn't have retaliated like that, as she didn't mean it, she didn't know, etc. In my opinion, you don't say things you know nothing about. So, am I the asshole? And edit to clarify, in my native language, saying I don't have a dad doesn't imply he's a deadbeat dad. It doesn't imply he walked out on me, it offers zero implications. That's why I chose that phrasing. It encompasses every possible reason under the sun why he is not here, but offers zero implications. It just means that he's not recoverable, and never will be for whatever reason that makes him not to be here. So I guess out of the gate, she's terrible for making that assumption and calling you out in the heat of an argument. Even if I was pissed off in an argument with someone, I personally would never go to say, no wonder you don't have a dad with such a horrible personality as your own. God, it's no wonder that he walked out on you. That's a genuinely terrible thing to say. What is wrong with her? Yet you have the clarity of mind to pick up on that halfway through the argument, and you don't correct her so she can apologize to you for the terrible thing she said. But you double down later on and say the exact same thing to her, while then clarifying that your dad died the same way. Two wrongs don't make a right in this situation, so you both suck for what you have done. So yeah, everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, AbbaZabba says, this isn't obvious everyone sucks here. Both of you punched below the belt and she started it is no excuse. She started it is a great excuse. Everyone is bound by a contract of common decency up until someone else breaks that contract. It's no different to hitting someone and being shocked when they hit back. Hitting below the belt is pretty much the definition of being an asshole, even under provocation. But sometimes being an asshole is an acceptable response. If the conversation played like told, then somewhere along the lines the other person thought that saying, "You don't have a dad because you're a piece of," paraphrased, was acceptable. "I don't have a dad" meant to that person that your dad left you because you're a bad daughter. Not sure where that came from in the conversation, but that's what was said. I agree that the response was crappy, but it's in response to a wildly inappropriate comment, and barring information we are missing about the conversation, a response to a way more crappy statement. I just don't feel everyone sucks here is justified. The response was bad, maybe, but you're allowed to be bad for something that wildly out of line. Not the asshole in my books. Again, barring missing information. A non-asshole appropriate response would have been something like, "I lost my father to cancer, just like you lost your child to cancer. I'm sorry for your loss." Not nearly as viscerally satisfying, but also a lot harder to turn into a personal attack later. OP is doing damage control because of the fight. Better in the long term to not have to deal with that. You don't have to be an empathetic saint to not be an asshole. You don't have to frickin' offer condolences to a D-bag. Everyone sucks here, big time. That said, I think OP's best choice was to say, "I lost my father to cancer, you miserable freak." You get the visceral satisfaction and the moral high ground. Everyone sucks here. Both vile comments to make. Was OP's comment vile? Yes. Did it essentially amount to, by your own logic, your kid walked out on you though, as they're both not here for the exact same reason? Also yes. It is everyone sucks here regardless, but OP's comment, in my opinion, was somewhat justified. If, and this is a huge freaking understatement, tone deaf. She tried to show her how her words were hurtful by pointing out that it could apply to her own child's death, but it backfired massively, and she should have known it would backfire massively. And Avebury1 says, "I would have looked the woman in the eye and told her that my father left me after suffering from and losing a long, painful bout of cancer. I understand that you lost a son. Now, what was his cause of death? Are you implying that people with cancer die for the sole purpose of running away from their loved ones?" That would have been short and sweet, gotten your point across to her without stooping to her level. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.